After 2 years of waiting, 8 travelers met up in Italy to explore the lifestyle of the Italians and to learn about themselves in the process. La Dolce Vita, the Sweet Life, April 2022, at home, in Italy, and within yourself. Whereas most people travel to Italy to see the famous monuments, architects, and other sites like holding up the Tower of Pisa, the Dolce Vita trip was about experiencing how the Italians live, the slower pace lifestyle, and the enjoyment of the beauty of gotta go back one, the but most importantly about being around the table with each other. And it provided the travelers the opportunity to reflect on their own lives and about themselves. Now, one of the reasons that I chose this is little Aaron down here when he was 4 years old and now he's 24, is that we went and lived in this area for 6 months and we were able to spend time with our family there. So it is the home of my husband's family, and they always taught me about inviting them into the experience. So this is Diano Marina. This is the place that we chose to go, and our hotel on the Mediterranean Sea. This was my dream of showing people the gentle pace of Italy. And to do that, I chose the medium, my favorite, of painting. So our first experience of diving into the culture was we actually went into Nice and did cooking lessons where she showed us how to make a chicken wrapped in phyllo dough and also some delicious pear tarts, chocolate pear tarts. These are some of the travelers and the delicious foods that we prepared that day. Prepare chocolate tart. Now, one of the things about traveling the way that I travel is that we ended up meeting some people while we were out doing another part of the travel and the trip. And this is the man that we met in a tasting room, and he invited us to his olive farm. And so a few days later, we went there to look out over the vista, to see his wonderful wares, and also took us on a tour of his farm. And we had somebody on the tour that was really interested in, David back there with the phone, on growing olives. He's got a whole bunch of olive trees himself. So it was really interesting to see firsthand how people live in the workers, the people that are providing olives and the olive oil, and it was really good olive oil. And then they provided for us right there in this beautiful scene pesto pasta, and we got to look out over this beautiful vista and taste this freshly made pasta pesto and do some drawing in the meantime. Another venture that we went on was to Abassola, which is famous for its pottery, and this is one of the famous potters. But this is our cousin Christina and her daughter, and they went with us to a pottery shop where we each got to make our own pottery right there in Abassola. Now, Abassola is a beach town. Of course, we were in the workshop here, but we did get to go and have lunch and walk down the promenade. That's my new boyfriend, by the way. That's a potter. And you can see the beautiful Mediterranean Sea, so we also got to enjoy that. Then we went up into the mountains, and this is a town called Piva di Teco. And it's really, we sat there and we did some painting, which I'll talk a little bit more about the painting later. But it's just a fun and beautiful town that Jerry and I had visited when we lived there. And so we wanted to take the group. I had discovered this winery. Even my cousins didn't know about it, called Mafoni. And so we traveled up this windy, windy road up to the top of this little village way up in the mountains. You'll see in some of these shots, you can even see the snow on the mountains behind us. And we met the winemaker and the owners of the land here, and we were able to wander their ranch and meet their donkeys, as well as some of us did some drawings. There's David doing some drawings, and this is the view I took of doing a little drawing, which you'll see next here. And I'll talk more about the painting and the art later. This is the group here that we were served. This is our cousin Davide. He's a second cousin, and he helped us put this trip together. This is a really favorite place of ours. Jerry and I both like going to Busana Vecchio. And this is an old town that was destroyed by an earthquake. I'm going to pause it here for a second. I want to talk about her for a second. This is a town called Busana Vecchia, and it was destroyed by an earthquake, and it was left for 50, 60 years just abandoned. And then these artists came into the village and started taking these places over. This is one of the original and the only original artists left, and they actually carved this little showroom out of here, out of the stone. And they made it their own, and they make their art. They lived an artist lifestyle. Many other artists came in, and the people, when they saw it being popular, they wanted to come back and take it as their own back again. Wait a minute, this was my house, this was my property. And the government ruled against them and said that these people had been here and made it what it was. And so the artists got to stay. And this shows some of the creative and unique places in Busana Vecchia. And artists are still there producing and selling their art. And it's up high above the sea. This is the view from this village. I mean, how beautiful is that? And here we come walking back down the hill. And on one day, this is just a few signs, we also went up to a castle way high up in the mountains. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in the next section. So this part is about the culture and learning to be with the people. And this is the home of Christina, our cousin, and Cesare, and it's Davide's parents. And this is Cesare and Christina here and some of the travelers. Well, they have down in their basement a pizza oven, and David and Jerry got taught lessons on how to make pizza. They're in the pizza oven. This is actually something called fornata, which is actually all made with chickpeas. But this one was a pizza, but that's the fornata again right there. Oh, here comes and of course beautiful fruit and dolce dessert. And then we also went to the home of Cesare and of Piera and Giacomo. This is Giacomo, also once again making the pizza in their downstairs pizza oven. These are down under the cellars of their little home. Jerry making pizza. There's David making his pizza. And this was called Pizza Genovese, and it had some delicious chunks of cheese in it and so forth. And there's, green beans and potato pizza. And they made me my own gluten-free pizza. That's how much they love us. So I want to go into the concept right now of painting, wandering, and writing, and why I base the trips around doing these types of activities is because when you sit down to paint or sketch or even write, it slows you down enough where you're not going from thing to thing to thing. And so we took time at different places to paint and to slow down. Those who didn't want to paint, they went to hiking. Jerry and Pam and Sabrina, especially, were some of the um, main hikers there. But I'm going to talk about Yvonne in a little bit about her painting. This is one of my paintings that I did from the home of Christina. And this is one of the paths in Italy, in Bogomaro, where we all sat and painted. And while Sabrina, which I'll talk about later, will did the hikes. This is the castle up above Albenga, which is another place. And I show people how I paint and let them follow my lead if they want, because it's a way that really takes away the fear. But you can see here, you get a wide variety of painting. Now, this is the hiking crew down here. You can barely see them, but here's the backs of them. They hiked up to the castle, right? And so they had a different, and this was some accomplishments for some of the travelers that went. And this is another form of art, neurographics. Oops, let me just go back to this. So that people that aren't really into the painting aspect of it can also do these little doodles. Pam here did her own thing, but Sabrina and Harriet did some neurographics, which Julie, who's on here, she and I help people learn how to do neurographics. And so that's also an option kind of for the non-painter. Now we had our the slow pace, the gentle pace. We had our free time. We had massages. We played games with the local people. That's our cousin Roberto and his friend. And of course we relaxed in all our different ways. Sabrina and I swimming in the pool there, having coffee and sweets, and being out on the beach. This is in front of our hotel. And our favorite thing, this is Jerry's family and us out walking passeggiata, walking the promenade with the Italians. And then of course shopping. Who doesn't love shopping? And people love the outdoor. There's an outdoor market in a different town every day. And one day it was right outside our hotel. Actually the first day, so that was exciting. So here's the shoppers. And we always take a slow pace, take time to rest and relax. This is Diano Marina, the town that we stay near. And then aperitivo is a tradition in Italy. Even the dogs enjoy it, where you go with your friends, you have afternoon drinks, and they bring you food while you eat. That's not part of the cost. The cost is in the drinks, and you just share your time in every afternoon during riposo and have wonderful different stuff. Okay, so the other important part of this trip is the personal insights. And so this is, of course, Jerry. And he almost couldn't make the trip due to having pneumonia. But the idea of seeing his family was the reason that he made it work. I mean, he flew on the airplane with the oxygen machine and everything. And then he stood, like you saw in the picture before, breathing in the Mediterranean air, and also just having the downtime to heal. And at the beginning of the trip, you kind of saw him there standing at the water. Look at him here with his family and with his people. It was very healing for Jerry to come on this trip, even though it was a stretch to get there. And then we have Sabrina. So Sabrina, what a joy she is. And this is her first time out of the country. And so it was just, I guess I should turn off the music, but I don't know how to do that. So she said, everyone was drawing or writing. So she, in one town in particular, Bogomaro, it's one of our first towns we visited, she went wandering on her own. And there were so many little pathways and cobblestones and they got smaller and smaller as she went, and then she heard the sound of rushing water up ahead, and she followed that sound and went through this tunnel and saw the community washing basin where they all did their laundry and would hang the laundry up. I asked her, "Did you get a picture?" She said, "No." Darn. But then she went on up, and up at the top of this sound, it opened up into this big meadow. And the things that she loved about the trip were the aperitivo time in the afternoons, her view from the room for sunrise and sunsets, and that everything was so different. So she came as a personal trainer, and she offered exercise every morning, and she helped people with their gait and walking on cobblestones. And so this is my sister using her walking sticks, and Harriet's my sister, and I are all on twice a week, 3 times a week Zoom class with her, learning how to walk and not fall and things like that. And she went along with us and helped us all very much on that. And so this is my sister who traveled with us, Cindy. And Cindy said one of the things she loves is all the details are taken care of. And she had a great experience that she wouldn't find on her own. And I kind of liked this picture because it showed like what it's like when you have to go look for the place when you're traveling, or when you are um, uh, alone traveling. And it was so lovely to travel in this group. And she also said that she got more than what was promised, and she also enjoyed the experience with the family. She particularly enjoyed having her personal trainer and seeing the sunrise in the morning, and the ceramic store, which she has a great story about, and not even knowing the language, but finding ways to connect and sharing pictures of her family with some of the people that she met up with. Because she has a baby granddaughter, which is the joy of her life. So, one of the things she said, which is so true, is that people work to live, and the US people live to work. Italians work so they can enjoy family and their life. Um, Now, the other life change that she had was, I don't think there's one more picture of her. Let's see. Oh, no. Let me go back to. So, the other thing that she realized on this trip was, and this is the La Dolce Vita, right? This is the sweet life. And she realized that she didn't want to work as much, and she wanted to spend more time with her grandbaby. And so she came home and asked for a reduction in hours. And they said no. And she said, "Thank you, I'm retiring." And so, as a result of knowing and really determining what the important things were in her life, she retired, and now she spends even more time and less stressful time, both enjoying her life, exercising, being with friends, and especially taking care of her grandbaby Sia. Okay, and then I'm just going to do this way, I think, at this point. So Pam is here in the middle, and Pam came on this trip having recently lost her husband, and this was one of the first big decisions that she made on her own to come along and travel, and it really also changed her life. So what she decided is that she wanted to travel more after this experience, and she went home, and she's now in real estate school so she can make more money so she can travel. So she's following the Italian lifestyle, right? Of working to live, not living to work, or the other way around, whatever it is. You know what I mean, right? Okay. So, some of the things that she really enjoyed on the trip were, taking time. This is her cousin Yvonne, who also traveled on the trip. We'll hear about her next. And taking time to, have the afternoon coffee and sweets, and spend time. Her other accomplishment was traveling. That's her there in the red hat, hiking up to this castle. And that was kind of a breakthrough moment for her, and really gaining courage and really trusting in herself. One of her monumental accomplishments was she took 1,700 pictures while she was on the trip. And the other thing, she roomed with Sabrina and she have become fast friends. And that was the other thing people said, meeting the people that they met. Now, this is Yvonne, that's Pam's cousin. And Yvonne said that she loved shopping and especially in the outdoor markets, and that she loved talking to the local vendors and trying to get bargains. But, it's always a language barrier, right? So it's always fun. Well, she was one of the breakthrough painters. So she's traveled to Ireland with me and did painting there, and she did an amazing job. But she's also always been a little cautious about stepping out there, not really, things don't turn out the way she did. And she developed her own style, which you'll see in a few of these slides here. And actually, and I love them, and she actually found that she wasn't a traditionalist, and she's not. She's very contemporary and kind of a hip kind of person. And that there's her rendition of the castle, and that's so beautiful, right? And then there's her husband, David. Now, what David said was that he took for granted that everybody would speak English. Now, the part of Italy that we go to, which I skipped over the map before, but sorry about that, was that he took for granted that, everybody'd speak English. And one of the things that he found was that he had to learn new ways of communicating and learn some of the words and things like that. And this was a funny experience when he ordered iced tea. We think they're going to come in a little glass, and they came in this little plastic cup. And but with the family, he felt like he was treated like family. So this is Christina and this is Cesare. Now Pam and Yvonne's cousin or somebody, they own this really nice winery here in Sonoma County. And so they took Sonoma County wine and shared it with our hosts, Cesare and Christina. So but he got taught how to make the pizza by both Cesare and later, and then by Giacomo also. So this is Harriet, and Harriet traveled with us. And this is Harriet's a traveler. She travels a lot. In fact, 2 weeks after we got back, she went to Israel on a trip. And what she said about this was her first time off the beaten path and not to these big, large cities. And that she loved that people with their rode with their dogs in their baskets. Of course, we saw the dog at the table, things like that. And one of the things that happened for her here is that she reconnected with her art. I've seen some of her artwork from the past, but she hasn't been making art. So she came along and she started actually just drawing, and she did this beautiful drawing of the castle. And one of her goals coming back was to paint this image as well as draw it on the black paper, which is one of the techniques that I teach also. So she loved the food being prepared by the family. She'd say to me, I wish I could speak to Christina because she's learned, I don't speak the language, but she was cooking because Christina was cooking all this wonderful food for us. And one of the things she did too when she came home is she retired. She had a small little teaching gig, and she says, no more of that. I'm living my life to the fullest. I've done my work in life, right? And now she can have a more relaxing and inquisitive time and just slow down, meditate more, and just enjoy the moments. So This is the final dinner that we had with all of the cousins, and this was my dream, the dream. And what was really lovely is here's both families. You can see all this amazing food we have over here. And when we were here, my cousin Roberto right here, which he and then Johnny and Silvana have been to the States. All the rest of them haven't come over yet. But Roberto said to me at the dinner table, he said, "Why, Christy, why did you want to do this?" And I said to them, you know, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, when we lived here with you, you taught me the importance of being with family and of the Italian lifestyle and, cooking and inviting people to share in life and to live La Dolce Vita. And whatever I said, they gave me a round of applause. But what I wanted to do really was to applaud them, because at the end of this trip, they said, "Are you bringing a group next year?" And I said, "Okay." So when we left, so we visit occasionally, and when we leave, here's the group coming out. We were getting on a train. We were heading out, Jerry and Aaron and I. This was probably 8 years ago. And they come out and wave goodbye to us. And this is them saying good night to us after our final dinner there and inviting us all to come back. So this was my dream come true, but I know that many of the other travelers found, even it might not have been a specific dream, but they discovered things about themselves that allowed them to want to come back and experience La Dolce Vita. David now has his own cooking pans, and he has a Traeger, I guess it's called, will travel, and he takes it to people's homes and cooks Italian pizza. He told me the other day he did prosciutto and melon pizza, many different things. And I know Harriet really got the little light of fire. We haven't checked in yet, but hopefully she's continuing on her art. And people chose a different way to live life as a result of this, trip to Italy. So, I hope you enjoyed your armchair travel of La Dolce Vita. I do have an information night coming up on, this is just for anybody that wanted to see the slides, but I do have a information night on the trip coming up the August 31st. And this is the link, and I will go ahead and put it in the chat. But this is an experience of a lifetime, and hopefully you felt it and experienced it within the slides. So I am going to just go ahead and let some slides play. If anybody wants, many people here, about half and half, have been on the trip. And so if you have questions, you might answer or just chat, but I'm going to just play this in the background. And you can just see a little bit more of Italy. Anybody have any comments or questions? If not, I really appreciate you coming, and enjoy your evening.
You know what I wonder, Christy, is there just a lot of rocks in those hills or something? There seem to be just, everything is made with stones.
Yep, it's all rocks. Even the beaches are rocks, not sand like you think of. They're smaller pebbles or things like that. Some have larger rocks, some have small. There are some sandy beaches, but yep, lots of rocks. And I learned an interesting fact. It was the stone it was the stone masons that built the building that Aroma Roasters is in, that came over before the earthquake, of course, but they built that and many of the stone buildings. It was the Italian. That was our bus driver, our van driver. This was our room, and you can see I'm painting still there, right? So, Mickey, how was it on Facebook? Did it work out? I probably should stop the Facebook thing, huh? I don't know how. So. Hi, Kate.
Oh, there we go. I think I was the only one there, but loved it, and it came across really, really well. And I am so intrigued. The food looked amazing.
Great. Yeah. So we're just letting the slides roll. You can jump off anytime. Or David's here. David, the great pizza chef. If you want to share anything, David, about your experience with it, Harriet's on, and Cindy, but she's a little bit tired. And did Pam make it? I don't see Pam. She was on the list, but or Rex or Kate or anybody have any questions for the travelers? That was from our deck of the hotel. Sunrise.
David, I'm very intrigued with your Traeger experience doing the pizzas and learning the different, is it different styles of pizza? And then you were able to come back and kind of replicate that?
Yeah, so actually the at Giacomo's and Cesare's place, where we were able to, use the traditional pizza ovens, were basically with the paddles and so forth. And there was one particular pizza that they made referred to as feta nata, which is more or less, we call it an Italian pancake, but it's made with chickpea flour type thing. And so they cook most of their pizzas in these copper pizza pans. And so having learned how to do that and knowing the temperature of the wood-fired stoves and so forth, I realized that my Traeger can actually cook at that temperature. And so I did a search, well, actually with the assistance of Christy and somebody else, we found a local supplier of pizza pans with Cindy.
Yeah.
And turns out I thought it was a specialty store, but turns out you buy the pizza pans at a hardware store. And so I went on this venture, walking through town, trying to find this store before they closed, and getting there and finding out that neither of them speak English. And I'm trying to tell them this is what I'm looking for, and I'm referring to feta nata, which is not something that everybody knows about as a particular pizza style, and which surprised me. But the wife remembered somebody calling in about the pizza pans, and then all of a sudden we were having a conversation. He realized, I told him where we were from in America, and that he'd been to Boston or someplace, and all of a sudden it was like we were old friends, right? And so he took me around, and I bought 3 of the pizza pans. So I adapted the use of these hammered pizza pans using local pizza dough and the olive oil. There's no cornmeal. Like here we use cornmeal as a lubricant, to keep the pizzas from sticking. The feta nata is basically an olive bed with this sauce poured into it. So I thought I could probably do the same thing with the regular pizza. And so that's what I do. I basically put olive oil, typically Italian olive oil. In fact, that's the oil right there in that picture.
Oil right there, yeah.
The Canonacci, I think it is. My Traeger can go to 500 degrees. Takes about 15 minutes to make the pizza. Roll it out, put it on the pan. 15 minutes later, you got a pizza like you have never had before.
When he came to a party at our house, the Traeger was in the back of his pickup truck.
right. Yeah. So for me, it was like bringing back something that really was memorable. One, getting hands-on experience with, our guests to teach us how to cook, but then also to bring it back and share it with others, family and friends. And we do pizza at least once a week now. And usually we have somebody over that has never had this type of pizza before. And it changes you, right? I mean, you relive the experiences of being there in Italy. And now you're sharing that with people that are your friends and family. And so it's a lot of fun. We're still trying different things. As Americans, we put way too much stuff on our pizza. But unlike
tomato sauce, right?
Yeah, I have not cooked a pizza with tomato sauce. It is nothing but pesto sauce for me. And we throw a few extra things on it, but the difference between what you get here at any place I've had pizza, it is so different. I'll never go back to eating other pizzas.
And the northern region up here, up where we were, is also very famous for the pesto. This is the pesto region, as opposed to the south of Italy, where it's the marinara and the red sauces and things. Yeah.
Yep. A lot of fun, life-changing experience. If Y and I get the opportunity and her health is good, we will be going back.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. No. Thank you for your insight on that, and really how you've been able to integrate that, into your own lifestyle. I think that's great.
Actually, the Riposo and the afternoon scenario, we've also incorporated that into my architectural practice and how we are living our lives here.
So Riposo is the afternoon. The shops close down, everybody goes home and has meals with their family, and then does passeggiata up to the village or whatever, goes out walking together or resting or whatever is needed, as a family and with the family. And of course they have the multi-family areas, and that's one of the reasons we love that we have our ADU, which David was the architect designer for. And we have our ADU with our son and his wife, our daughter-in-law, live right there. And I feel like that's part of the La Dolce Vita of life as well. So, not sure who else is on here. So Rex, do you have any questions?
No questions coming to mind, really. I'm just appreciating you sharing the opportunity and just getting very much in touch with my own reflections on my own travel history and back in relationship to the importance of relationship fundamentally to others and to ourselves, and how an experience like this can wake us up to that. Totally beautiful.
Thanks. Harriet, you want to share anything? I know Cindy was tired, so I'm not gonna. You're still muted, dear. You gotta unmute.
Sorry about that. It was a spiritual experience as well. I mean, all of the connections, but as you said, the self-reflection was part of it, and everyone did it in their own way. Whether it was going off and hiking, as Sabrina did on her own, or whether it was me reconnecting with art, or the immersion. I would call it a cultural immersion as far as Italian culture and meeting Jerry's relatives. And it wasn't just a picnic that we had with them or a little happy hour. It was like a feast, a banquet. They were so warm and welcoming. It was just astonishing, actually. And I would say about the winding, hilly paths, rocky stones and whatever. Well worth the climb to go to Busana Vecchia, which to me was one of the highlights, the artistic village. It was awesome. And none of this was typical, and none of this would have been available to any typical tourist of Italy. And I had been to Italy 6 times because I've been an oil painter and painted on location. In Tuscany, Cinque Terre, which is the other side of Riviera coast, and none of the, and all of those trips were good, but none of them were like this one. And I think that just about does it. Oh, and no pressure, and everything was intriguing and fun, but there was no pressure as far as time pressure. Well, we've got to do this. We have to do this. It just wasn't that way.
There was a few things, like we had to leave for Nice early, and that early,
Well,
I think.
that,
Yeah.
yes, but
But I just want to say that there's a lot of flexibility, and that's why when we met went to the olive tasting room and met the farmer there that had his wares there, and he says, come to my home. And so a few days later, I don't even remember what we took off the schedule, but whatever. Oh, I think it was just a free day, but instead of going on a free day, everybody wanted to go to the farm, the olive farm. And David, how many trees do you have, David?
I have a dozen heritage class olive trees that are 75 years old that we rescued and planted on our property, harvesting olives from them.
And tell them the difference in harvesting in Italy and your harvesting there. And anybody's welcome to drop off anytime. We're just kind of, as long as people are chatting, you're welcome to stay.
I think the one thing that was most astounding to me was how much rock has been used in that country for building retaining walls. And when I say retaining walls, I'm talking about terraces where literally you couldn't drive 2 bicycles side by side as a terrace, and then sitting right on the edge of the stone wall is an olive tree, and then it drops down 3-4 feet, and then the same thing repeats. And so I was really interested in how did they harvest, because Cesare had 600 olive trees, and I said, where does your farm labor come from? Because this is crazy, right? And he said, we call our friends. And I said, you call your friends? And it was like the village that they live in. When the call goes out, you go and you harvest olives, and they cook food, and it becomes a gathering event. And so they use, nets to basically that go down the terrace and from tree to tree, and basically they're using some shakers and some sticks and some rakes, whatever it takes to get the olives out of the tree, and then they bask them up, and some people are cooking, and it turns into this huge experience. So I told Giacomo and Cesare both, I said, when you guys are ready to harvest, call me, because I will come over and help harvest olives, just to be part of that experience. I actually went on a hunt trying to find a particular harvesting tool that I thought they used there. Wasn't even close. If it's a stick and you can beat an olive branch with it, that's how you harvest, right? Yeah, so many things were not what I was expecting, but yet you had an education, and they were willing to share information and experiences and so forth. So now we're trying our harvesting technique the same as what they do there, and also we're trying some new olive processing that they do. In fact, we had some of the olives that we brought back. I brought a suitcase full of food back with us, by the way. But one of them was some olives that we got from that olive farm, and they salt cure 90% of their olives there. Not a caustic lye formula like what we hear about here. They actually, everything is just marinated in salt water for months, And we actually had some the other night for the first time that we brought back. And first reaction was, "Oh, these are salty." And then you realize these are really good. we need to really do this ourselves. But amazing country. Anybody wants to go, I would go. No questions.
Well, David, when you are harvesting your olives and you're doing the food and you're calling your friends, count me in.
Okay.
And I told you count me in too.
That's right.
I may just pour the wine while people are doing it, but I'll be there. Yeah.
A little pizza, a little olives, a little lavender,
Wine.
A little wine. That's right.
So, by the way, Mickey lives in Rohnert Park, so she's nearby.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
And Rex, where do you live?
Sebastopol.
Yeah. So you coming for the harvest too?
Let me know.
All right.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. And if you know anybody that wants adventure, also part of the work from now until I go is I also help people learn how to manifest the ability to travel like I do and on this trip. So, if anybody that's interested, let me know and pass them my way. You can go to my website, Mastering the Art of Life. You can email me at Christy@masteringtheartoflife. You can call me on the telephone. All of you have my phone number, so. Okay.
So Christy, as I should have said when I came online, buonasera.
Buonasera, yes. Time to mangiata.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao. How many times do they say ciao when you leave, David?
At least 2 or 3.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Until you're out of sight.
That's right.
Okay, everybody, have a great night.
Thank you. Good night.